This is Aisle 42. In this episode, I sit down with Marise from Chaz Organics to explore her team's commitment to organic, fair trade, and sustainable food production. Marise shares how their mission is deeply rooted in providing high-quality, Ayurvedic-inspired products sourced from Sri Lanka. She walks us through the values that drive their production, making organic food both accessible and affordable, while fostering a circular, regenerative approach to business with suppliers and farmers they're proud to support. We also chat about their 1% for Elephants initiative, which is a first on Aisle 42. Their work to reduce human-elephant conflict in Sri Lanka is a powerful example of businesses making this world a better place through conservation. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening, because the future of food starts now. Marise, I'm so glad we're able to finally have this conversation. Your brand, it's normally actually on my shelf behind me in my little, product display here, but I needed a can of coconut cream for a meal I made last night. So I'm sorry I had to pull down the demo, but you guys make wonderful products and you do so many wonderful good things for people and the planet. So I'm looking forward to getting into it. And I want to kick things off to welcome you to the Aisle 42 show with this question. And that is, if you could look into the future, what's the one positive change in the food system that would excite you the most?
Well, thank you, first of all, for having me here. I'm really excited and happy we could finally make this work. I know we've had a little bit of back and forth on the timing, so I'll just jump right in. What excite me the most would be, I think, if people developed a mindset where they were actively looking for options that would help improve their health and also the health of the planet. So I really think it comes to choices and mindset, and that with that one positive change, a lot of other positive things would follow.
I think that's wonderfully said. And it is a mind shift. It's a little bit of a culture change, a little bit of a personal mission, if you will, of people, what they're eating, what they're putting in their fridges and their cupboards. So yeah, that's wonderful. Why don't we take a quick spin? You give listeners a sense of what it is that you guys make. To be honest, I was surprised. I know you guys because of your coconut milks and creams. You're in my local stores, but you have a lot of other products than just canned coconut
A lot of
liquid. So
products.
why don't you give us the rundown?
The rundown. Well, first of all, as a company, we really do have this mission to empower communities through good health and great food. So, food is really a big part of our lives. We're all foodies at Chaz Organics. We love food. And our products really center around sort of a holistic Ayurvedic lifestyle. We source our products from small scale regenerative organic farmers in Sri Lanka, where my partner comes from. And we really aim to highlight the unique and bold flavors of the region. So spices, we've got curry paste, we have all kinds of flavorful spices, but really bringing them to Canada with a little bit of a spin on them, and soon North America as we're expanding to the US, where we kind of present that to people here as options that they could use in everyday cooking. So to give you the rundown, we have our coconut milk, as many people know from Costco, our coconut cream. We've got our really innovative coconut whipping cream, which is a thick cream. There is no separation, no water. It whips perfectly every time straight out of the can. That's a favorite in many households. We also have the light coconut milk and then the spiced coconut milks. Moving on to canned fruit, we've got our signature young jackfruit, which is great for vegan pulled pork and as a meat replacement. Then we've got our pineapple chunks, mango chunks, tropical fruit. We've got a sweet jackfruit. So we have a whole line of tropical fruit. We have our spices, which is what we've been carrying the longest. I'd say the star of our spice line is our true cinnamon, also known as Ceylon cinnamon, which is a really unique and beautiful variety of cinnamon, very hard to find in the market here. It's sweeter and it has no high coumarin content like cassia does, so very healthy, good for the liver, and won't cause any health problems like cassia. So along with our true cinnamon, the stars of our spice line would be black pepper, turmeric, which is very high in curcumin and healing. And then we have a whole range of spices that you can use for sort of ethnic or South Asian cuisine. Then we have the curry kits centering around Thai flavors. We've got a green, yellow, red, and a tom yum soup. Those are a curry paste that come with a herb pouch. We've got our heirloom rice, which is proudly grown by Sri Lankan organic farmers. These are traditional grains of rice that use less drops of water per acre and are really healthy for the soil. give back to the community. So we've got the red rice and the pearl rice and fragrant rice, which are both white rice varieties. Those are all short grain. We've got the coconut rolls, which are a beautiful snack, and they blend together some of our favorite items like the coconut milk, the heirloom rice. They're very lightly sweetened, so under 8 grams of sugar per serving. We do use coconut sugar as well, and they've got some really unique ingredients like green banana flour that give them a little more fiber and nutrition. So those are tasty snacks for the lunchbox. We also have, let me think, what did I not cover yet? Oh, the oil. And this is actually one of my favorite products is our coconut oil. So we have a virgin coconut oil, which is has a beautiful light coconut scent. You can use it for cooking, but also body care, hair care, oil pulling. And honestly, my most used product is the deodorized coconut oil, which is by far what I use the most because I use it for all my cooking. Replaced any kind of, well, I don't use seed oils anyways, but really replace all your cooking oils with that, baking as well. Did I cover everything? We've got the warming beverages, the chai. I don't have a list in front of me. The chai tea,
So you're doing amazing, by the way.
the
Just
chai
the
tea.
fact
We
that
do have a
all
lot
this
of
comes
products.
out
It
of
could
your
take
head.
up the whole podcast to just list
It's
all our products,
amazing.
but we love them all. So we've got our chai tea, and the chai is actually what we started with. It's a beautiful blend of orange pico black tea with true cinnamon, cardamom, clove. We've got some little bit of black pepper in there. It's a really nice blend, ginger. And you can use it instead of coffee. You can have it as a nice afternoon tea, make a latte with a non dairy beverage. And then our turmeric latte, which is anti inflammatory. It's very soothing, very flavorful. You can make a really nice, warming turmeric golden latte in the winter and just, help soothe the senses and also fight inflammation at the same time. I do think I covered everything. We do have some new products coming out soon as well.
Oh, do tell. I'm gonna you just stay on a roll. If you got new stuff, then let it fly.
I feel like I've named them all, but if you think of something else, let me know. Like I said, I don't have a list in front of me. I'm just rattling off all the items. And yeah, a lot of people know us for coconut milk, but we do have a lot of other products that really complement each other well. So you can make like a really nice meal, for example, with the coconut milk, the rice, the oil, the spices, the curry kit, and maybe add some jackfruit in there. You've got yourself a whole full dinner.
I love it. That's where I came across your brand was the Costco, box of coconut milk and started to kind of explore your brand a little bit more. And I think I've seen you at a trade show or two. And what's remarkable to me is that you guys have maintained the organic across so many or all of them 100% organic, which is wonderful. And I'd love to learn a little bit more about that. What has that been like for your team and for your suppliers and farmers to maintain such a high standard of farming and processing?
Yeah, well, I mean, we don't have an easy path. I would say, we could have just become another kind of one of those junk food companies that sell a lot of a lot of really unhealthy food that you can produce real cheap and sell it at high margin. We kind of do the opposite. We get the most premium food that you can possibly find in the market. I mean, Sri Lanka does really, really, really export some of the highest quality foods in all of these ingredients, much higher quality than any other country in the region. And so we really have picked the most premium, most expensive, and really highest quality with virgin soil, no heavy metals, and all the good stuff that we want to bring to the world. And then we have to package that for the consumer in a way that's also affordable, for people who are just trying to get by here most of the time and have to afford their groceries. So that in itself is a challenge for us. And with a lot of organic foods is maintaining that premium quality that we want to offer and the organic and then also making that affordable for Canadians. And that's where I think we really are happy to have great partners like Costco that have really done an amazing job of taking that premium product and they just, they cut all the middlemen and they cut their margin and we're able to offer that at a great price to Canadians. So that's been a big win for us, but we really don't depend on that. I mean, we really built our market with the health food community, with the independents. That's our core and that's where you'll see all of our products, not just one SKU. And it's really about partnership. It's about going, to each store, knowing each store manager that at least all the ones we've been able to meet or can meet, visiting them, seeing them at trade shows, meeting with our distributor reps to highlight what our brand is all about and pass that education along all the way down to the consumer, as well as doing consumer shows, being really active on social media. And for us, it's really about cutting out all the middlemen to get that affordable price that people, where people can still enjoy our products and not feel like it's a luxury item because we want people using them day to day, but then really also educating people about why they would choose our products. And sometimes it does come down to a choice. I had a friend when I was in university who really didn't have much, income. I still remember her. She really was, everything was so minimal in her house, but she would always eat organic food. I just think of her as an example of, the choices we can make. So, rather than going out and spending money on booze or cigarettes or, junk food or whatever it is, people can choose health and they can choose organic. So for us, it's about educating people as to why our products are the ones they should choose. And that comes down to a lot of things, the organic agriculture, the climate aspect, the fair trade, which gives back to women and communities.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you about that. You guys have doubled down with fair trade. Sorry, that's not new. I know you've done that for a while. Can you speak to the fair trade aspect of the business? I mean, what does that look like from farming perspective and from a supply chain side?
Yeah, absolutely. For us, it's such a big part of what we do. And you'll notice that most of our products are Fair for Life certified. And that includes all the coconut milk, cream, whipping cream, all the spices, except for a couple SKUs we don't source from Sri Lanka, which we still do ethical trade out of India, but really all the Sri Lankan ones. And as well as the coconut oil. And the other products that we don't have the certification on doesn't mean that they're not fairly traded. We just haven't been able to bring our partners to that level of obtaining the certification yet, although we are in process right now with the rice. They are in process right now. So for us, it's really about creating win-win situations. We don't believe that commerce or trade or especially around food should be extractive. We really believe in partnership and always giving back to the community where we source from. And it makes sense because if you just look at this linear progression of just using extractive policies to go to other countries and take whatever we want as a Western country with means and leave them kind of depleted is not a very regenerative model. And in the end, you can see that it will bring about so many issues down the road. It's not sustainable by any means. And so for us, it's about doing the right thing. It's about respecting people, planet, nature, animals, everyone who has to live on this planet, who lives together. We think that all life should be respected, especially human life. And we also believe that it's a better model, that when we give back to our partners and we invest in them, that they invest in their own communities, and then they're able to continue bringing us these beautiful products that we love. So it's really a more circular and regenerative model that we believe in, and it comes down to respect, and also we just think it makes sense.
And let's talk about elephants for a second. You guys, it's right in the brand. I discovered that you have a 1% for elephants initiative. And I hadn't really come across that. I've come across a lot of things in the food space, a lot of 1% for things, a lot of, wonderful programs. But this one stood out to me as something very special. And I have spent some time around elephants. The respect for those animals is a pretty serious thing. I really enjoyed my time. I was in Kenya a few times. I was able to sort of observe elephants nearby, and they are wonderful. But talk to me about elephants. What is it about 1% for elephants that is important to your team? Why do you guys lean into that initiative?
So for us, elephants are a big part of our brand, as you'll see on our packaging. We put it right there in our logo. You may not know our brand, Chaz Organics, is sort of the face of our company, but our corporate name is actually Sahana Ayurvedic Products, and Sahana is a word that is kind of like a namaste meaning word in Sri Lanka. And the philosophy behind our products really does go back to those ancient times where respect for all of the planet's creatures is such a big part of the culture. Going back to ancient Buddhist philosophies and Ayurvedic philosophies, elephants are a very revered animal. They're very almost worshipped, and some are, like for example in Ganesha, the elephant god. So for us, the elephant is such an important animal, such an important creature. And sadly, in Sri Lanka, the elephant population is at risk. They are considered endangered, Asian elephants. And it's not because of hunting or poaching at this point in Sri Lanka, though the population did decline heavily under colonial rule when the British were hunting elephant for sport. Right now, sadly, there's a human elephant conflict in Sri Lanka. And what that looks like is very impoverished rural communities living on very little, that have a small plot of land where they grow some food for themselves and maybe to sell and sell into their community, and elephants who are seeing their land encroached on, and who need a lot of room to graze and have migration corridors. And those two communities are at risk and they're almost fighting for space at times. So an elephant can come and raid a village, raid the crop, maybe even break down a house if it's a very, just a mud hut, or a house that's sort of not that solid, raid the kitchen. Sometimes there are casualties. Often people are killed in these attacks. And then on the flip side, these villagers will retaliate. And if they've got an elephant coming in, putting their family at risk, well, sometimes that elephant might get shot, or it'll have a bear trap or something. So they'll find ways to get rid of that problem. One of the ways to approach that is really by finding solutions that help those communities and empower communities so that they're not as vulnerable, and in the same time educate them about the importance of respecting elephants and find ways and find solutions where those elephants are no longer putting the village at risk, and then people won't put the elephants at risk. Another problem with elephants is trains. So they'll get hit by trains. Often the train track might cross a migration corridor, and what we found out is that why elephants are crossing those tracks in this particular area we're working in right now is that they're just looking for food. And so 1 to 2 elephants, I'll give you an example, in this area that we're working in right now, is being hit by a train per month. So 1 to 2 elephants are being hit by this train per month because they're just leaving this protected area where they're supposed to be and kind of crossing the track to go look for food. And for them, food is green, it's grazing, and it really goes along with water. So one of the reasons why elephants migrate is just really they follow the water, the rain pattern in the country. And a solution that we've been very proud of partnering on, that we're working with a Buddhist community in Sri Lanka to implement, is just to restore the wetlands. So in this protected national park that we're working in right now, we've contributed, I believe the amount now is up to $30,000, something like that. And we've basically dug out a wetlands habitat where there had been a lake, and that lake had been drained, and the dam that was holding it had been broken, restoring the dam, restoring the wetlands, restoring the elephants access to food and water. And with the wildlife experts and the government wildlife committee there that are working with us, they estimate that we can reduce elephant casualties by 50% just by restoring that wetlands habitat, which is also just a great thing for the ecosystem. So that's just one example. There's putting around electric fences around villages. There's sometimes we'll just donate farming equipment and school supplies and things to that village we're working with to gain their partnership and their trust, and so they can actually be less impoverished. And there's all kinds of solutions, but it's one thing that we're very proud of, is finding ways to not only help the elephants but to help the people also to live peacefully with them.
That's so great. It's remarkable work. Appreciate you doing that. Yeah, watching, just being around elephants is, it's almost mystical, to be honest.
No, they're very intelligent too. They're highly intelligent. Where did you spend time with elephants?
In Kenya, mostly northern Kenya.
Oh, wow. It's African elephants. I haven't seen those ones. Yeah, they're just incredible. And you hear these stories about elephants, and for example, how they give birth and how the females come around and they're basically like midwives, and stories of elephants rescuing people in Sri Lanka during the tsunami. And I don't really condone elephant riding, but it is a thing. And apparently, some tourists were actually rescued by elephants who took them to safety into the jungle. I guess they were also running, but they had that foresight to know. And they're very, very, they're spiritual in a way, and we need to protect them. Obviously, as a plant-based company, we also really believe in protecting wildlife and animals and animal rights. One other thing that we have been less vocal about, but we're starting to make a little bit more, I'd say we're communicating a little better this year, is that none of our coconuts are picked by monkeys. The first time you hear it, people think it's a joke. They laugh, they go, monkeys, but then you realize it's not a joke and it's actually really sad. A lot of coconut in other countries, you can look this up on the PETA website. They have a lot of information about it. But basically, what happens is that monkeys will be kidnapped from the wild. Baby monkeys will be taken from their mothers and put into basically slavery. They're chained around their neck. They're kept like on heaps of garbage or in cages, and they're basically starved. So that the only time that they get food is when they go and pick coconut. And a monkey can pick a lot of coconut. It is a very, I'd say, productive way to pick coconut. They probably really increase their profits that way by not actually paying people. And monkeys can probably pick 10 times more, so you get all this cheap coconut milk. But the cost of that is these enslaved monkeys that are basically being put through torture. And when they're used up and spent, they're thrown to the wild where they can't fend for themselves and basically die. So it is really a horrible practice. I think it will become more common knowledge, and you'll probably start to see this more and more. I know a lot of retailers have already made commitments to eliminate monkey labor from their supply chain. And that's one thing we can be really proud of, is that not only are our coconuts fair trade, so the people who are harvesting them are actually paid fair and equitable wages and they have safe living conditions, but also like we are never and never have used any slave monkey labor.
That's a very dark part of the food system, isn't it? It was when I chatted with Ben Mand when he was over at Harmless Harvest. We explored a little bit around that as well, and it's haunting. It's a dark thought, a dark reality, and one I think consumers and retailers can have a lot of influence on. Just saying we're not going to stock those items that are done that way, and if they can't be validated as such, and consumers I think can speak loudly and say that's not what we want in our home. So yeah, it's a powerful thing.
Exactly. And we've seen that, for example, I mean, I'm vegetarian, I don't eat tuna, but we've seen that happen in my lifetime, at least around tuna, where there was dolphins being caught in the nets, and then dolphin safe tuna became a priority for people. And now that's common knowledge. And I kind of see it having that progression. I'd say in fair trade as well. Sadly, I don't think we're there yet. I think a lot of people are still not aware, but especially, we're in coconut, and it's important. I think it's important for us to be fair trade because we do want to give back to the farming community. But the real like human rights violations that you'll see in something like cocoa production, chocolate in like in African countries, it's really heartbreaking. It's children, it's child slave labor, it's horrifying. And another thing that people don't always see, behind the scenes, or don't always think of, a lot of retailers have made commitments to fair trade, or at least some kind of certification to show that their chocolate or their cocoa products aren't coming from those areas. But yeah, the food system really, like I said, there's so many things you could change. So it's hard to say there's one thing. Like, obviously, there's the ecological aspect, there's the human rights aspect, there's the animal rights, there's health. But I think, again, like coming back to mindset, when people start to realize those things and want to make that effort, it doesn't mean you're always going to be perfect. You might go and buy a chocolate bar or a coffee or whatever it is, but like, to have that mindset, to look for those products when you're out at the grocery store, if you have a choice, to make that choice. I think that's so important because it supports the brands that are making those choices, that are making a difference in people's lives or in animals' lives. And it also sends the retailer a message that consumers want this, because the worst thing would be if, we get all of our suppliers on board and everyone's going organic and everything, and then retailer doesn't buy it because the consumers aren't there. So the consumer choice is so important to really want to see that change in the world that we want to see.
Yeah, and education plays into that. As the consumer becomes more aware of the good, the bad, and the ugly, they want to choose good. And the more they do that, the more available and more, the prices get lower as more consumers jump on board with things that are important to them. So I think the extension of values and the change in consumer behavior, and not just preferences, but also, that morality of a consumer, I think it can really move the needle on important issues like this.
I agree. And that's why I like having some of those mass retailers on board. And as much as our core really is the independents, the health food community, and that's where you'll find the biggest range of our products, but not everyone shops there and not everyone has access. So sometimes being in some of those mass and discount retailers is really a great thing for an organic brand or a fair trade brand, because it just is a more inclusive model for some shoppers where they actually can access, maybe ordering online or getting it, at a more affordable rate, or whatever advantage they see. That's why for us as a brand, we really want to be everywhere where the consumer shops at the best price. We always offer great deals seasonally throughout the year with all of our retail partners, and really helping consumers make that choice. That's kind of what we're all about.
And by the way, I'm very curious about your spiced coconut milk. That totally lines up with a whole bunch of like the way that we cook in our home. I'm like, yeah, I would I would go through a few of those without question.
Yeah, we've got the curry one, the lemongrass ginger. They're not as common, a little bit harder to find, and I mean, I can't guarantee we're gonna always have those on shelf either. That might be one of those fringe
Yeah.
SKUs that, we have a lot of SKUs. Sometimes we look at them all and we go,
Yeah. SKU rationalization. It's regular. It's the way it goes. Well, maybe I'll make sure I get it before it's gone.
It breaks my heart, because they're like babies for us. Like we love them all,
I
but
bet. I'm compelled to ask what's next for you guys. Shaz Organics, I feel like said obviously in Costco, get the milk, but I feel like there's a lot of the products that you've outlined earlier that I've never seen out here in the West. Do you guys have expansion plans into the West or into other places and spaces?
yeah, well, the great news is we are actually making some really good grounds in the US. Like we are expanding our SKU selection, some of our great retail partners there, like Fresh Street Market, Choices. Whole Foods is always a great place to find all of our products. And I would say we're always interested in doing more with Costco. We have conversations with them regularly just to see what other SKUs might fit. Of course, those have to be really like mass appeal products. So it won't always work for like the spicy coconut milk, for example, or even the whipped cream. We really did want to bring that to Costco, but it is a little bit more of a niche product, so that you will still find at Whole Foods and at a lot of your local grocers. The great news is that Loblaws now carries that product, and they've got a lot of banners. You've got London Drugs out there as well, which we're really excited to partner with on some of those products. So you can find more and more of our products, especially out west. I'd say we've had a big increase in SKU selection this past year. And you can also order online from chazorganics.com. We offer free shipping with orders of $150 and more across Canada. And now that the Canada Post strike is over, it's a lot better to order online. But we will also be looking at bringing some more of our products into the Costco online platform, which is a great way to reach Canadians all across the country who don't necessarily have access to make it into a big city. And we are currently working on completely revamping our Amazon listing as well. So you'll find a greater selection of products there. And for our American listeners, we are heading to the US this year. Very excited about that. We won't have our full range of products yet because there's a lot. So we kind of have to take reasonable steps. I don't want to say baby steps, but just reasonable steps. So we'll launch about 10 SKUs into the US this year, starting kind of on both ends in California and the New York region, and then extending into the rest of the country. So we're definitely busy, and we've got a few new products in the works that we'll be announcing soon. We also have, I know your listeners can't see probably unless I want to show this, but we're excited to announce our rebrand of our rice. So our heirloom rice is getting a total rebrand. And we love the new packaging, very convenient, user friendly, and we've got some nice storytelling on the back here. So yeah, we've got a lot going on.
Pearl rice is beautiful. I love it.
Have you tried it?
Not yours, but I have had others. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we'll
Yeah.
send you
Can't wait to
some.
try it. Yeah. That's awesome. Well, I'm so glad we could connect and thank you for sharing the story. And Shaz Organics is a beautiful brand. You guys make beautiful products. I can't wait to get my hands on even more of it. I think I wrote down cinnamon on my notepad. I'm like, get this cinnamon.
Yes. Well, we'd love to send some your way. Send me your address. We'll send you a
You
nice
bet.
care package to sample.
Lucky us. Oh, that's wonderful. Well, thanks for everything you do for people and the planet. And you make beautiful product, and all the best to you and your team.
Thank you so much. This was really a pleasure, Corin. Thanks for inviting me on the podcast, and hope to catch up with you again soon.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Aisle 42. Follow Chaz Organics on social and pick up one of their products the next time you're at the grocery store. That's it for me. I'm Corwin Hebert from Ethical Food Group, and I'll see you in the future.